Just a second. Right. And we call upon the member of government to open their case.
Ladies and gentlemen, democracy was invented in Greece, and we on the government side believe that it would take a great deal more than a temporary suspense of the government, which is unable to solve a crisis, for this democracy to disappear. The opposition is playing with the word maybe too much. Maybe the military will be bad for democracy, maybe the people won't like it. There's an idea that it may be detrimental. We on the government side give you a clear situation without any maybes. Greece is in a crisis. Something must be done, something must be changed in order for this crisis to stop, especially as the government is inefficient to solve this crisis. Therefore, the government needs to be suspended or changed in order for the crisis to be solved. So in fact, I will first deal quickly with the rebuttal. For example, on the opposition side, we had that the riots will proliferate. Well, we want to say that there are already riots in Greece. People already are rioting against the current situation in Greece. So in fact, we already have rioting anyway. Why not try and change the situation? And secondly, they told us that we have given no examples where military government has worked. So in my extension, this will be one of the things that I will do. I will give you examples where shock therapy has been, military shock therapy has been what actually changed the country's economical situation. So in my extension, I will first of all analyze the difference between a democratic government and a military government, and I will prove why, hopefully, why in the times of crisis it is the latter that is more efficient. Secondly, I will give you examples of where military control has been beneficial for the economy of a country that was in a really bad state. And thirdly, I will tell you why in the case of Greece, military control isn't a threat to democracy in the long term. So first of all, on to my first argument. Desperate times call for desperate measures. Now, democracy is really great, but it involves a lot of talking because you have to listen to the opinions, you have to make sure everybody is heard, everybody is happy. Now then, in times of crisis, there is no time for that. In times of crisis, decisions have to be made quickly to prevent further crisis. Military is directly connected to war, and war, in fact, is a kind of crisis. Military generals are trained to make decisions in times of war, thus crisis, and they are trained to make these decisions quickly and in such a way that those decisions are aimed at achieving victory. And in this case, Greece desperately needs victory over the economic crisis. Please, your point of information.
Given that the EU is likely to suggest to the military to increase austerity measures, which people are currently rioting against, how is a change in the form of your government going to ensure success when the people still don't agree with you?
Well, people don't agree with the democratic government that we have right now. So as we say, we need to change the situation, and also how this will actually improve the economy is what I will get to if I'm allowed further in my speech. So of course we have said that our side naturally requires certain examples to prove that we're right. So for example, we would first like to look at the case of Chile. Now then, Chile is one of the Latin American countries that went through a very serious economical crisis, and it was the military regime of Pinochet that actually, now this country is one of the most prominent countries that are most developed in the continent. So in fact, the fact that there was this very strict regime, the military was controlling the economy, basically making people work, making people do things, is what basically pulled this country out of the economical crisis. So in fact, this proves that a military regime which is strict, which tells people to do exactly what to do, which means quick and efficient decisions, is something that can pull country out of an economical crisis. But again, if we look at Chile, well, the Pinochetist regime wasn't exactly good for democracy. But now then, ladies and gentlemen, so Latin America is a continent which in terms of politics is very different from Europe. So in fact, we believe that we require another example of basically military being involved in a European government. And we see that in this example, it would be very efficient to talk about France. Now that one of the most successful French presidents was Charles de Gaulle, who was basically a general. So exactly this proves that in case of Europe, a military rank coming to basically be head of the government is not a threat to democracy. But this person who has been, I have told you how generals are trained, this person brings his military training, brings his ability to meet quick and efficient decisions to the government. And then the government, well, France is one of the, France is basically one of the top countries economically, and also when it concerns democracy. And I would like to move on to my third point, but before I do that, your point of
Do you really want the entire world thinking that military rule is better than democratic rule?
No, of course we do not want that. But if you have heard my whole speech about how in the times of crisis, in fact, military rule is more efficient, and I have explained why that is. And now on to our third argument in our expansion is why, in fact, this military regime in Greece will not be a threat to Greek democracy in the long term. Well, if we take a look at Greece, it is part of of the European Union, now then the fact that it is European, being in the European Union requires for the country to uphold certain democratic standards. So in fact, if the military, if we trust this picture that the opposition are painting, that this will destroy any kind of democracy in Greece, that Greece will simply be kicked out of the EU, because EU does not have any countries that are not democratic regimes. Now then, if Greece is kicked out of the EU, first of all, that will not be allowed to happen, because polls show that the majority of Greek people want to be in the European Union. Therefore, we see that in fact that this country is still part of the European Union, and it's going to change the government to make sure that it stays in the European Union, is in fact what will ensure that democracy is not threat in the long term. Therefore, ladies and gentlemen, we beg you to propose.